Look, I'm not telling you what to do with your free time. All I'm saying is that this week, it's the final week to get all of the resources you could ever need in Beyond Light. And I know you've seen tons of videos, prep guides and everything. But if you're like me, you may have waited until the last possible moment to begin prepping. I know, there's completionists out there, man. They've got thousands of every type of material. They've got Glimmer stores in their vaults. I wish I was like that, but luckily for us, Bungie has come in with the save. They have given us another Double Loot Nightfall, and oh, it's magnificent. Lake of Shadows, guys, is back with Double Loot. Now, I've made multiple guides on Lake of Shadows, and I'm gonna be honest with you, every guide we make becomes outdated each and every single time because we find different ways to more efficiently run this Nightfall. Today, I'm gonna show you our most efficient method to date. Now, we're not killing it. We're not doing sub 10-minute runs on this Grandmaster Nightfall. No, we're just nice and steady. The little engine that could. The tortoise. 15-minute runs or less is all we're asking for. We're not greedy. We're getting double loot, baby. So let me show you exactly what we're working with. First up, couple key pieces that you need in this Nightfall. One Well of Radiance, one Invis Hunter, preferably Bottom Tree Night Stalker, and one Bubble Titan. The main weapons of choice is Inagi's Burden and Fallen Guillotine. I know Guillotine's getting nerfed next week. This is your final week, man, to really get the most out of this sword. Still gonna be good, but you know, won't be as good. I personally think 24% decrease is quite a bit. Nothing to bat an eye at. Just apply that to the rest of your life. Would you like to be 24% less potent in the bedroom? Huh? I'm just saying, it's not exactly a nerf that we openly welcome. And I need every percent. But those are like the two main weapons. Now, our other weapon choices range. I'm actually rocking a Dordative, most notably because it's about to be sunset, and this is my way of saying bye-bye. But it is a nice pulse rifle, 390 round per minute archetype, got a pretty decent roll on it, and considering that it's solar, it can deal with captains, and I am stacking it with an unstoppable pulse rifle mod, which allows us here to stagger unstoppable champions. Now, Sarah was actually running an arc-based weapon to deal with arc shields. A perfect weapon choice would be something like Nation of Beasts. I love the curated role, but she was, of course, using that with unstoppable rounds, which takes us to the other person on our team. This is the person that will have the most important job. They will not be running Izanagi's. Instead, they're going to be running a Crude Redemption or a bow of some sort in that kinetic slot for overload rounds, and the energy weapon of choice, which has by far made every PvE content we have done so much easier, is Truth Teller with blinding grenades. Yes, you heard that right. Blinding grenades. Now, even though blinding grenades does pretty much kill your blast radius, the blinding effect itself is still very large. And most notably, it does a fantastic job against taking enemies that like to shapeshift and move. Throwing off a blinding nade amongst a group of enemies allows for the rest of us to focus up and target those champions without having to worry about all those ads trying to break it off in us. Now, it doesn't matter who rocks the Truth Teller. QJ was just the only one out of all of us that had blinding nades on his Truth Teller, and my God, was it working fantastic. So good, in fact, that we're probably going to bring Truth Teller into the new raid just for its ability to control ads and simultaneously keep those high damage enemies sidelined for the most part. So that is the weapon setup. And again, it seems like every time we make one of these videos, we change up our weapons every single time. But this was by far the best weapon setup we had, which now takes us to our mods. Mods have changed slightly, most notably due to Concussive Dampener suddenly becoming pretty much the best mod in the game, at least for this Nightfall. You see, Concussive Dampener, and I don't know who posted the numbers for it, this was like a month ago. One Concussive Dampener mod gives you 15% resist against AoE damage. Now, there's a lot of things that applies to AoE damage. We're talking the Captain's Darkness Blast, you know, where he just throws those blast spheres at you. Phalanxes and their blast. Hobgoblin's Retaliation. Nightfire. All of those things fall under the same threshold that these concussive mods block to great effect. Now, there is some diminishing returns here, but these are the mods and their stacks. It starts off with a 15% resist value and increases, but does have some diminishing returns. Now, if you're like me, I'm lazy. I just go, hey, what the hell? I'm just gonna put on a bunch of Concussive Dampener mods. I don't even care. In the least, I would say have two on, as you get the most out of your mods just by having two. Nearly 28% resist there from all of these different enemy types you're gonna be going against inside of Lake of Shadows. By far, the best mod for survivability. With that being said though, other mods I highly recommend. Again, Unstoppable Pulse Rifle for those that are rocking pulse rifles in this, which is what I'm utilizing. Supercharge for the ability to hold substantially more stacks of Charge with Light. Two Countercharge mods, as well as a high energy fire mod for that increase there in damage. Again, the beautiful thing about Countercharge charge is every single time you disrupt a champion or stagger or pierce, you will get a charge with light stat. And again, this applies whether you actually do the stunning or one of your teammates does. It doesn't matter. So it's just free real estate here on Charges of Light. I'm also rocking a Stacks on Stack mod. And for my people that are rocking Izanagis, I would recommend double sniper scavenger mods in combination with special finisher. And you don't have to have protective light, although I do keep it as this is Grandmaster content and it's so easy to get one banked. Now, considering that I am playing Titan and I'm on a bubble, rocking Saint 14 is an obvious go-to choice. Jay was rocking 6 Coyote as he was playing Night Stalker. Having a second dodge constantly allowed him to have a smoke on hand for that team invis. However, my friend Dimitri actually rocks Assassin's Cowl in this Nightfall, which is still a great option. You might have to be a little more creative with it, but ideally do whatever you have to do to constantly have a smoke ready for you and your teammates. And again, I wasn't rocking it because I didn't have enough mod space, but for my hunters out there, I would recommend you rock Oppressive Darkness just to allow for a debuff to be included with everything else that you're doing. Now, the rest of the Nightfall and how you become more efficient in Lake of Shadows on Grandmaster is just simply knowing where to place your supers, where to go invisible, where to take your time, because there are definitely some problem areas. So first up, some areas I want to outline. In this area with the 2 captains, take your time. Matter of fact, you want to just kind of like stay back and pick these captains off from afar, and you want to bait those unstoppable champions to you. Don't run over there, because if you run over there, man, those captains and these unstoppable champions will go in on you. So again, feel free to kind of stay back here, take your time with these targets. Ideally, you would want to take out the captains first, but you never know about those unstoppable champions. They may run up in the midst of you trying to take down these captains. So just keep backing up, keep baiting them. And again, survival is the key here. Now, the second area, which is right after this area, this is a huge play right here. First up, that Taken Blight does not need to be broken until 2 folks are on the truck where the 2 overload champions will spawn. Again, you don't have to do it this way, but my God, if you get your timing right, you could trim off some time here by just immediately melting these overload champions that spawn. I'd throw a bubble up, and then we just immediately start shredding these guys with Fallen Guillotine. Then we proceed to deal with the rest of these taken enemies. And again, whoever's popping the bubble, just kind of try to pop it directly in the middle of the truck. That way you can kind of use it for protection when dealing with both of these champions. And whoever's rocking overload rounds may need to be the one present there as well when it comes to stunning these overload champions. Then the next phases are pretty easy. You just run invis, pretty much bypass everything, deal with that captain that's at the bottom of these stairs, which takes us to the next phase where you actually have 2 unstoppable champions. This is where Sarah would actually pop her well, and we would proceed to just kill everything with our swords. Now, upon dealing with these unstoppable champions, take your time. No need to rush this area. Kill everything with your primaries. Snipe those overload champions from afar. Whoever's rocking the bow with overload rounds, make sure you're stunning those overload champions. And again, just kind of take your time. Be very methodical on this bridge, because this bridge can be a nightmare if you try to rush it, especially considering there are places you die where your orb is not even accessible. So I would recommend taking your time the most in this situation, because you just don't want to die and then proceed to put your orb in a spot that no one can even reach to get the respawn. And again, this entire area, you kind of just want to work your way up, deal with these overload champions from afar with his Anagis. While you're at it, deal with that knight in the far back so you don't have to deal with him when you run up. And the last targets should be an overload champion and an unstoppable champion almost to the end of the bridge. And I would recommend going completely invisible before approaching them. And you want to pretty much do the same strat that you saw before. Drop a vortex grenade, apply Oppressive Darkness, and proceed to just sword everything down. Now, this next phase is where my Titan has to step up. And as you see here, notice that we're doing like bubble, well, bubble, well. We're just hopscotching supers here for areas that are your problem areas, and that's how we're surviving. Now, this area, you don't have to immediately pop your bubble. I would say go ahead and deal with that unstoppable champion first. Get some stuns off, shred them with your swords, and then as you get ready to move up, you want to definitely rely on your bubble here, because this is where those knights with that night fire that rains down on you from above really becomes a problem. Whoever it is that's rocking a solar weapon, you cannot go down. You concentrate on popping shields, and I will say this room gets a little more hectic, but the sooner you pop those shields, the better it is for your teammates. And while all this is going on, whoever it is that's rocking that truth teller with those blinding grenades, you keep going in, keep blinding every single one of those enemies. Now, the next few areas are pretty straightforward. I would say throughout all of this, whoever's rocking Bottom Tree Hunter, feel free to use your super in these situations where you've got all these trash ads. That way your Warlock and Titan can have their supers back before the boss room, which takes us to the boss room itself, which surprisingly is the easiest room of this entire strike. Literally break this blight. Upon doing so, the boss will spawn in, have a well already laid down. You should easily kill this guy, and upon killing him, this is when you want to pop your bubble and literally just sit here. Because again, the strike doesn't end immediately. It like takes a second. So you want to go ahead and just pop a bubble so you and your teammates survive, wait for the loot to drop, and then proceed to load back into the strike. So guys, that is your Nightfall. I know I didn't give any recommended exotics for Warlocks. I would say Phoenix Protocol is still a fantastic option. There are some more niche exotics to use. I think Sarah was actually rocking Starfire Protocol with sticky grenades, taking advantage of Taken repurposing. And again, I didn't even mention Taken armament mods, which is very beneficial and probably the last time we could take advantage of this. However, all this gameplay you see of me is me not rocking armament mods. I'm simply taking advantage of a few exotics, couple artifact mods, and this makes this strike super easy. Now, if you don't want to do Grandmaster, that is completely fine. Still run this strike on Master. I think Strange Terrain is a good option. Lake of Shadows is still a good option for Masters. I will say, if you are looking to do Grandmasters to get the most out of every single run, hands down, Lake of Shadows is the way to go. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.